Hello everyone, today we're going to go through and learn about theoretical probability. It is a way for us to measure what are the chances of something happening. And the way we do this is using a scale called the probability scale, and it ranges from 0 to 100%. We never go past 0% or on the other side over 100%. We always try to stick between 0 and 100%. Anything outside of that is not on our probability scale. Now, if something is definitely never going to happen, we say that it's impossible, and we give it a measurement of 0 or 0%. That could be you obtaining 500% for the test. That is 0% chance. If something that's definitely going to happen, we're going to call it certain, and we give it 100% or the probability of 1 out of 1. For example, you watching this right at this moment, that is definitely happening. So that is a certain amount of probability. Something that is not very likely to happen, we call it unlikely. For example, the chances that tomorrow is going to be super windy. I've checked the weather. It's about 10% chance that it's going to be really windy. So we call that unlikely. And unlikely could lie anything close to 0.25 or 25%. So it could be 10%. If, let's say, something that's very likely to happen, that is, you're very likely to stay home or sleep in your own bed tomorrow, we call that likely. And it's anything between 50 and 100%. And things that are in the middle, we call them even chance, 50-50. That's why you can hear people say 50-50 a lot. So we can give them percentage and we can give them decimal marks. I would like you to remember these keywords so that you're familiar with them when we're referring to the numerical value and the worded value. And remember, never go past 100% and never go negative, never. Now, what are the words we have to learn? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 keywords that we have to go through. We're going to go through the definitions and 3 forms of examples. There are many more examples, but these are 3 that I'm pretty sure will give us the hang of understanding this. The first word we're going to go through is chance experiment. Chance experiment is anything that we can repeat multiple times so that we can measure it. So, for example, we could roll a die, because we can roll it over and over and over again and see what are the chances of getting each number. We could also pick a card out of a deck of 52 cards. Now remember that normally there are 52 cards unless we add jokers, and then there could be a 53 or 54. But 52 is the total number of cards. We could also toss a coin. We can get heads or tails for coins. We could do a spinner, we could do other examples. Those are all chance experiments, things that can be done over and over again. Every time we do one of these things, whether we roll a die or we pick a card or we toss a coin, every time we do this action, we call it trial. That's a trial. So each of these rolls is a trial. Each time I pick a card is a trial, and each time I toss a coin is a trial. And every time you do this action, you get something out, and that is called the outcome. Outcome. So for example, I roll a die, and in this trial I get a 2. I roll a die again, and in the next trial I might get a 3. And I roll the die again, and in the next trial I might get a 4. So 4. So 4 is the outcome. I've done 3 trials, and these were the 3 outcomes. Picking a card, I could get King of Clubs, or I could get Ace of Hearts, for example. These are all different outcomes. And I could name all the outcomes, but it will take a while. Tossing a coin, I could get heads. That's that trial. As my second trial, I might get tails. My third trial, I might get tails again. Now, so we've got the word outcomes, what comes out, and we've got the word trial every time we do something. Sample space is all of the outcomes that are possible. So for example, when we roll a die, we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6. And the way we represent the word all of the outcomes, so sample space, is by the symbol with a little e, capital C, and little wiggle. I'd like you to practice little e, capital C, little wiggle, little E, capital C, little wiggle. I'd like you to practice this until you're very comfortable with it. Maybe write it 20 times. So what are the outcomes of drawing a card? This is going to take me forever to write. There's 52 outcomes. It ranges from 2 of hearts, 2 of diamonds. Then we have, change of color pen to black. 2 of clubs. This is clubs. And 2 of spades. And all the way to A. So there's a lot of outcomes in this sample space. For tossing a coin, we have only 2 outcomes. We have heads or tails. So far we have trial, everything that comes out, and an outcome is what we get from the trial, and sample space is all of the outcomes. Event is what we want. So in the sample space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we might only want the odd numbers, then that's our event. Or we might want the even numbers, that is also an event. Or we might want numbers greater than 3, 4, 5, 6, that is also an event. So an event is pretty much in lame terms, is the outcomes that we want. That's a way to think about. Don't describe it like that though. So we call it favourable outcomes, what we want. So for example, a possible outcome of rolling a die could be odd numbers. It could be even numbers. In that case, it will be 2, 4, 6. It could be C numbers that are 6s, just 6. For picking a card, we could pick, let's say, numbers that are less than 3. If we look for less than 3, then we only have 2. So our event A, our favourable outcomes would be 2 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, 2 of clubs, and 2 of spades. Doesn't quite fit. Excuse me. For tossing a coin, an event could be, event A could be getting heads. Event B could be getting tails. Event C could be getting tails twice, for example. These wiggly brackets look like this, and I recommend that you practice drawing them as well. Now, favourable outcomes are the outcomes that we want. Okay, so it's the inside of the event. Just like when we're talking about outcome and trial, now we're doing favourable outcome and event. So when we have this event, then their favourable outcomes are 1, 3, and 5. If we have picking a card that is less than 3, then these 4 things are our favourable outcome. 2 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, 2 of clubs, 2 of spades. Those are favourable outcomes. And let's do it for A here. Our favourable outcome is heads. So we use all these words so that we can calculate the theoretical probability, because it's true in theory. Okay, and how do we calculate that? So we look at, get rid of those boxes. So we look at our favourable outcome. So we count them. For example, for the probability of obtaining odd for rolling a die would be, we look at the favourable outcome, there's 3, over the sample space, how many there are, 6. Again, so if I want to pick odd numbers, probability of picking odd will be, probability of picking even, we look at how many favourable outcomes are in our event, 3, and then we look at how many outcomes are in our sample space, 6. And we always simplify. When we talk about picking a card, let's say the chances or the probability of picking something less than 3, how many favourable outcomes are there? There's 4 out of how many outcomes are in our sample space? 52. And we simplify that 1 over 13. Might want to get used to this. We'll see this very often. Picking heads out of tossing a coin tossing a coin once. So if you toss a coin once, the probability of obtaining heads would be 1 because there's only one favourable outcome out of a sample space of 2. I hope that was useful. Comment down below if you want me to revise anything.